What a time, y'all. What a time. I think it's time actually for me to talk about this particular subject because I wouldn't say significant part of my everyday life, but it is part of my life. It is part of my story. And I have to talk about what I'm walking away with from it. Before we do that, though, guys, if you haven't gotten it yet and you're really looking for a resource navigating the first year after stillbirth or baby loss, or if you want to go back and kind of pay attention to or kind of revisit some of the things that you felt in the first year that you felt you didn't get validation for, or that you want some insight with, or maybe you know a new lost mama who you kind of just want to refresh what happened in the first year. Believe it or not, it gets kind of fuzzy, having it being the worst thing that could ever happen to you. And it's sometimes hard to remember. But anyway, my new book, Stillbirth Survival, My No BS Guide to Getting Through the First Year, is now available on Amazon. Grab that. You can also get the digital version for your Kindle as well. I know some people are putting it in their hospitals and bereavement care. Some are putting it in their local libraries. Wherever you feel that might benefit from it as a resource. If you need to buy in bulk, absolutely can do that. If you have a retailer account, if not, let me know and I can try to work something out for you. But it's a resource out there for you, kind of just highlighting the things that I experienced in the first year after losing Brody. So grab that or give it as a gift to somebody who might need it. Actually, I just dropped off a bunch of them to my bereavement care program at the hospital where I delivered all three of my boys. It was really surreal to pull up into labor and delivery and then hand over a box of my books that A, I never wanted to write, and B, never want anybody to need ever again. But, it's inevitable. Stillbirth is continuing to happen. There have been some changes made, but it's still not impossible anymore. Which is so surreal to know that somebody else is going to need this book coming after me. But I hope it helps. And, at some point I have to decide to not talk about the death, but talk about what I'm walking forward from it with, or walking with Brody, but also the lessons that I'm learning, the things that are changing, where my life is going, and recognizing those things. But I never could do any of that unless I survived the first year. First was realizing that the magnitude of this was life-altering devastation because everyone around me wasn't treating it like that. And I have an episode about this, and it's really important that we acknowledge that. But on that note, things that are happening after Brody's death was I'd had heartbreak before. I'd lost a grandmother that I was very, very, very close to. She was in her 80s, and I had lost pets. And by pets, I mean dogs that were my heart and soul. And so I actually lost one when I was pregnant with Brody, but didn't know I was pregnant yet. And I still cry over this dog. Like, honestly, I still cry over multiple dogs that I've had. But Brody's death was the most catastrophic loss, the most catastrophic thing that ever happened to me. And I wasn't sure I was giving myself permission to let it take me down. It needed to take me down in order for me to rebuild back up. This whole mentality that I used to have of it could be worse, or everything happens for a reason, get back up, let's go. That was not applicable to Brody's death and what it did to me and what it is still doing to me. I'm a change and alter person forever. And I'm also a person that's living with grief and pain and a broken heart forever. And I became a person who accepted this pain and this loss in order to move through it. And I'm glad that I did, but that was very different for me. And so now moving forward, when losses happen, when things happen, I now am faced with these decisions of, do I let this take me out? Do I let this become a bigger part of my story in my life that I would really prefer it to be? Not in a manufactured way, but in an honest and real way. However, me now in my grief journey can't, nor do I want to do that. I'm going to try to explain this. Brody's death interrupted the life that I was building, the dreams that I was creating and accomplishing. And I will admit that and accept that. However, I'm not letting his death stop me from creating new dreams and rebuilding and moving forward. The miscarriage that I had, and I'll, go back to this, it was almost like I didn't want to wrap my brain around another loss, another death, if you want to call it that. I didn't want to even deal with that, but I had to. And I picked up and I moved forward with it. And much less time than it took for Brody. And I'm still frustrated about the miscarriage. I'm still frustrated that I would be halfway through at this point. And I'm still frustrated, and I know the due date, and some meeting new moms saying that that's when they're due. And it's just like, okay, another hit. So here's what my point is. At 4.5 years out, living a beautiful life, tons of pain, of course, still trying to expand my family, I'm dealing with, am I disassociating, distracting, deflecting, or am I handling my losses in a healthy way? Am I handling my challenges and things that hurt in a healthy way? For me, I believe so. I cannot wrap myself in a shroud of loss and suffering all the time. I just can't do it. And nor do I want to identify with it. However, I do want to wear it as something that I've learned and grown from and made me some sort of category of human that most people wouldn't understand. And it makes it challenging at dinner parties. Like it's definitely an identity thing right now. Who am I? Out of survival mode. I'm not in survival mode. If I were to get pregnant again, maybe, yeah, I might be. But right now, on this Thursday, I'm not in survival mode. I'm not in acute grief mode. I'm not in a mode of trauma. I am in Catherine as a grieving mom, but a mom to livings who is rebuilding a beautiful life. Not without Brody though. He's coming with. So, it's been a crazy mental gymnastics, soul searching, digging space that I think this is the evolution of a human. I think this is the evolution. I think this is the journey. There is in no way, shape, or form can we say, and I'm going to say this, that you experience the death of your baby, and then you survive the death in the acute phase, which is the first year. And then the second year, it gets a little crazier. I've talked about this multiple times because you're either pregnant again or trying to get pregnant again, or you're trying to expand your family in one capacity or another, or you are just now kind of, the dust is settling and things are becoming very real, even though it feels surreal. It's not your new normal. Year 3, I would say, is the year where it really kicks you in the pants and you're like, okay, this is life. And, but it's still not life in its normalcy. I'm entering life into normalcy at this point. It's not mundane, but it's predictable at this point. And I'm going to evolve from here. I'm in the process of making normal mom friends. I'm in the process of moving into a new house that I am determined to make a home, a safe haven that brings me peace and comfort and joy and settles my racing thoughts and my intrusive thoughts and settles and calms my soul when I need it to, that I can invite people to. I have not invited people to my house right now, the one that I'm currently in. I don't know how to explain it. It's just not a home for me, and I don't know why. And I'm going to have a whole nother episode about this to explain that. But I am moving into, and I don't like the term fresh start. This is a fresh stage for me because I think this is an evolution. Grief is always going to evolve with you, understanding your grief or not understanding it, but accepting it. And I said something about, quote unquote, making sense of my grief right now. And I had a lost mom. You can't make sense of your grief. You guys know what I mean. Like, I need to know what I'm feeling. And I need to be like, okay, that makes sense. Because that's just how I am as a person. But even if it doesn't make sense to me, I guess it still is what it is. I miscarried several weeks ago. And to give you the layers of it, and this is in no way trying to make a comparison to anybody else's. You guys know I don't do that. I speak from my own experiences, and y'all can deduct whatever you want to from it. We were trying. We have been trying to expand our family for months. And I got a positive. It, from the very beginning, wasn't looking good. But I felt very connected to the pregnancy. I felt very connected to who this baby was. That's another episode. I was just excited and I was ready. And then the testing did not come back good. The ultrasound didn't look good. And then I started to lose the pregnancy early. It was early. And when I say lose, I started to bleed. And what surprised me the most about miscarriage was the physicality of a miscarriage. So a stillbirth, you find out your sweet baby's dead. You then have to deliver them, whether that is an induction and vaginal birth or it's a C-section. And then the physicality of the birth, besides the bleeding when you get home, which is typical after any birth, because I've had 2 more since. You bleed after you have a baby. You bleed for days and weeks. You have to wear a diaper. It's crazy. With the miscarriage, I watched the pregnancy leave my body for 2 straight weeks of bleeding. I even saw the pregnancy leave my body in the shower, parts of the pregnancy. I then, because we were trying, wanted to know when we could try again, was testing positive on a pregnancy test for 5 weeks. And then the pregnancy test being positive, instead of it being an elated, excited, joyous feeling like it should be when you see a positive pregnancy test, it was devastation and disappointment that we still could not try again. And that my body was hanging on to a baby that did not exist. Didn't exist. Empty uterus. But just my HCG levels were not falling fast. And I do know moms, this goes on for way longer than 5 weeks. And I will acknowledge that. But I was very surprised by this. I did not know that was a thing. So I was testing every week and reoccurring disappointment and frustration. Then when I finally got the negative, I felt like another loss. It was a very mixed emotion. It was devastating and heartbreaking to see that the pregnancy was finally gone, quote unquote. It was a wild experience. And like I said, I would be halfway through it now, and I'm frustrated because I love me a baby before the holidays because then you get to enjoy the holidays and everything. But that's not it for me. And what I'm learning, I don't know if I will divulge much more about the miscarriage itself. What I do want to talk about, even moving forward in my content, my podcast and all that, is what takeaways I have. Who am I now? What have I learned? What does my life look like now as a result of what I've experienced? I cannot talk about death. Oh, this happened. Oh, the pain was excruciating because of this. Oh, this should not have happened. Oh, I'm angry at this. Oh, I'm angry. That is a place that I don't want to live in. I can't live there. Sometimes I revisit it. For example, I had a doctor's appointment in the same building where Brody was pronounced dead. It was at a different practice. And I saw a very pregnant woman get on the elevator with me, and she hit floor 8, which is where my old OB is, and this wave of emotion came over me that I was that girl. I was blissfully ignorant, and then I wasn't, and that practice let Brody die and didn't care about it. And why was my baby the one? Because I know thousands of moms have come up and down that elevator in the last 4.5 years, and not that I want it on anybody. Not that I want anybody to experience this or babies to die. I don't want that at all. But it's like so messed up that it was me and it was my baby. And it's so frustrating that a practice continues to practice when they are the ones that could be partially to blame for this. It hit me and I bawled in my car, and I don't think I'm still affected by it. But that rage and that scream cry and that anger is just not a place I want to live. So I've been working on trying to get myself out of that. And I think that's what healing is, because you're never going to fully heal. I've said that 1,000 times. You're never going to fully heal from this, because you're not, that would assume that you moved on and you've forgotten and you've left in the past. That's not happening. But I can heal from the negative stuff that hurts me, that I don't want to feel. And that's what I'm working on. But I still feel it sometimes because I'm a human being, I'm a mother, and I'm brokenhearted at that. So what I'm trying to do is take what I've learned from these things, but still be honest in the journey. My day consisted of a beautiful morning with my boys playing, drinking iced coffee. You guys know I love, with my special ice and in my special glass. And I love that. And I spend time with my family in the morning, just being together. And then, I go and I got dressed in this cute little shirt that I bought, which brings me so much joy. And then, I went to this appointment and it just crushed me. It crushed me. And then I met up with my family and we went to a World Cup soccer game. And it was like my cousins flew in, my brother flew in, my brother and my sister were there, my husband was there. Like, we saw old friends. Like, it was a tremendously amazing day. But for about 1 hour of the day, I was completely crushed and heartbroken. But it was a beautiful day. And then I came home and got to be with my boys, and we had dinner, and they played, and we laughed, and it was great. So my point is, my days are wonderful, but they are affected by sadness sometimes. And that's okay. That's what this is. That's what this is, guys. And even if you go through multiple days with no tears and no tinges or no junk punches, that's still okay. The point is not to forget them. The point is to bring them with us, but function with the pain and let it exist alongside our joys. That's the whole goal. And I've talked about that before. So again, I'm just trying to give myself grace and also give myself permission to feel it all in the level and the magnitude of what it is, but to also say it's okay not to live there. It's okay. That book, It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Well, guess what? It's also okay to be okay. It means nothing other than you trying to create a life worth living. That you try to find this new version of yourself. This is not easy shit. I know people who struggle with life's normal problems. And here we are just doing all of it. Like, at the end of my day, you guys, I'm still a mom. And exhausted, burnt out sometimes. Just need my kids to stop screaming for 5 minutes. Find something they will eat, try to get off this last 10 effing pounds, be healthier, make good choices in the kitchen, make my husband happy and comfortable, decide if tonight are we drinking, are we not drinking, what are we doing here? Like, we're normal people with a side of abnormalcy because we have a dead child and we've been through some stuff. So when I go to cook, I want something easy. I want to throw something in one pan. Why? Because I don't feel like doing the dishes again. I live in my kitchen. there's something always sticky or dirty, or they didn't like that version of the meal. So I tried another one, and then 5 plates later, the dishwasher's full. I mean, this is life. And I want my home to be aesthetically beautiful like no one lives there, but that's not the case because I have kids and toddlers and I'm exhausted from life and work and grief and pain and just being a woman and this is normalcy. And that's okay. It doesn't have to look any other way than what you need it to or want it to or just what naturally organic it looks like. I'm never going to be like, this is my aesthetically pleasing home that TikTok taught me. No, this is Catherine's home. It's warm. It's messy. It could smell a little weird because I burnt the pancakes this morning. There's an empty wine bottle sticking out of the garbage because I haven't taken the garbage out yet. It's like, it's normal and it's my life. And I want an easy dinner that goes into one pan in the oven so I don't have to be stirring because the kids are yelling and catapulting off things. And then I just clean that pan and it's yummy and delicious and the leftovers are even better. I love me some leftovers. And if that pretty little marble lamp that just needs to be recharged and not find a really weird outlet brings me some joy, y'all, I'm putting it in that damn house. I'm buying it. If that fifth tiger poster really is dope, I'm getting it because it makes me happy, This is it. It's just rebuilding a life. It's rebuilding a dream. It's making life better and easier and more fun. And it's creating things that we look forward to. It's creating things that we get excited about. You know what I just did? I researched, we got some chicken thighs. I don't eat chicken thighs, but I was like, hey, let's try some chicken thighs. We went to the farmer's market this weekend and hot as hell in Atlanta, but we went and we got some chicken thighs. And so I just researched, a Mediterranean way of cooking the chicken thighs in one pan. That's the kicker. I am not going to brine this and marinate that shit and put part of it on the stove and then have 6 pots, 3 sheets, and a dirty air fryer at the end of it. I can't do it. And I researched and I found an amazing dish that I'm about to make. And then I just went and got all the stuff in Instacart and I'm like super excited to cook tonight. I am. And I haven't been excited to cook in a really long time. And I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to it. And, scoured on Amazon for good reviews because it's hot as shit here and found a blow up pool, like a splash pad that we're going to put in the front yard on the sprinkler for the boys this weekend because it's so hot. So that makes me excited. And I'm going to bring you guys with me because I think it's really important to find things that keep us excited about this life because it's very easy to lose that. It's very easy to lose that. And I'll be talking a lot more about this throughout the rest of the year because we start to enter the holidays. And the holidays are really tough, especially for new mamas and especially for us who are really just trying to find our place as a mom. And not even just a mom, but as a human, as a woman, as a person, as a wife, as a sister, daughter, best friend, neighbor even, I'm going to do a better job making friends in the neighborhood. I'm going to do a better job. I used to be absolutely terrified of talking to normal moms. Getting better at it. I'm getting better. Still, things are said. Well, we were at the closing for our new house. No, our old house. And I guess she was an attorney doing the papers, was sitting at the head of the table. And you guys, if you've ever bought a house, the sellers are on one side, the buyers are on the other, and the realtors are on each side. It's like super weird. But she would not stop talking. And then she started making comments about how she doesn't have any kids because she swore if she had kids, she'd either kill them or give them away. And I'm like, I don't understand people who say stuff like that. And it kind of twinged for a second. That feeling, that glunk. Like, whoa, what's she talking about? But then she said it again. And then I was like, okay, this woman has been through something. Because if you have not just voluntarily chosen not to have children, I don't think you say stuff like that. Like, it's felt like she may have gone through it and just wasn't able to or never did, and that there's something deep down. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she just hates them and never wanted them. But usually people who hates them and never wanted them don't say stuff like that. I don't know. Anyway, here I am diagnosing people all the time. And I can't, it's so annoying because like I can't just get mad anymore and be petty and talk shit like I used to. It's more like she's going through something. Let's give her a pass. You know, like I can't even be that cool, like talk shit person anymore. It's like, I feel bad. She's going through it, you know? Anyway, but I hate that we're learning lessons and I hate that we have to sit and be like, what did this teach me? Sometimes it doesn't teach us anything. Sometimes it doesn't teach us anything other than what it's like to have that experience. That's it. And miscarriage was something I have never experienced before. So it taught me. It taught me what the experience is like. For me personally, what it could be like for others if it was very similar circumstances, maybe the same timeline, maybe the same situations. And because I will admit, like, it's kind of wild that my early miscarriage is the same category as, let's say, somebody late first trimester or early second trimester loss. Like that's still the same thing. That's like still in the same category is kind of wild. Because I will say a 16, 17, 18 week miscarriage is wildly different than a super early one for me. Like I can only guess because I've never had one, but and you notice I'm not saying worse and I'm not saying better. I'm saying wildly different. I'm using the word different. And that is what chaps me. Now, I wasn't even going to go here with this, but here we are. Now, after experiencing an early miscarriage after a stillbirth, I have never been more ready for the argument that they are very, very different experiences. So many people came at me after Brody's death and said that they know someone who had many, many, many of those. And I was like, they had many stillbirths? Damn. Or, oh, my mom had one. Or, oh, I had one. You'll be fine. You had a stillbirth? No. Miscarriage and stillbirth are very different experiences. I am not saying different pain. I am not saying it's different trauma. I'm not saying one is not as bad than the other. I'm not saying one is easier than the other. I'm not saying the magnitude of one is more than the other or less than the other. That's not what I'm saying. They are very different experiences. For me, I did not see this particular pregnancy move into a baby that was alive and then birthed. Brody, very much alive, very much reacted to my voice, my food that I fed him, that we ate, my touch, sounds, who then I birthed, who could have survived without me had he been born prior to his death. Very different experiences. Brody, I birthed by pushing through my vagina. This sweet pregnancy fell out of me for days. Different experiences. Now, where we all also differ is our response to these experiences. I will never, ever. Some moms come and apologize to me like, I feel so weird talking to you about a stillbirth when, mine was just a such and such week. Okay. Hard stop. In your world, this is the most painful thing ever. In your world, you get that. You get that pain. You get that validation. You are allowed to feel the way that you feel. In my world, Brody's death was the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And it was the most excruciating thing ever. My world. Everything is relevant. Everything. You cannot assume things and you cannot take from other people. The reason why I have stayed so far in my stillbirth lane is because this is the lane that I know the most. And up until now, I didn't have miscarriage, but my miscarriage experience is layered with already having a stillbirth. So I cannot speak from just general miscarriage knowledge. I can't. But I can speak from stillbirth and I can speak from miscarriage after stillbirth because those are my personal experiences. I didn't expect the miscarriage to hurt so much. I think partially why it hurt so much was because I was in the gray area for so long, not sure of what was going to happen. And that was really painful, waiting for the test results, waiting another couple days to test again, waiting for this, waiting for that. And I honestly, that part was really challenging. Not sure where my life was going to go. Are we having this baby? Are we not? What's going to happen? It's also really interesting how common it is to miscarry and have your pregnancy leave your body onto the floor. While I have already had very, very traumatic experiences, I can see why this would be very, very traumatic for people who have not previously had traumatic experiences and or still extremely traumatic all over again, even after having a traumatic experience. This should be validated as something absolutely wild for a woman to go through. It is. It's wild. It's wild. This whole miscarriage experience. And I did not, after Brody, I did not develop an immunity to grief. I thought, okay, well, I already survived the worst thing ever. But it turns out that this was different and this was its own grief. I wasn't necessarily grieving the loss of a baby. I was literally grieving the loss of a baby that I thought was going to happen, a life that I thought was going to happen. Already had the due date, like, oh, we're going to have a baby right before my birthday. I grieved that hard. Also grieved the loss of time. My age, losing months to try again. Losing time already having another baby for the boys. Their ages are ticking up. So, I wanted them a year apart or a year and a half apart. Now, at this point, they'll be 2.5, 3.5 years apart. And time just ticking away. I grieved that. I still am grieving that part. But honestly, you would think after another loss, or even after a tremendous loss, like a stillbirth, that you lose hope. And I can honestly tell you that I don't think I ever did. I lost hope that I would ever be able to have another baby. Right after Brody, because we had 5-6 months of trying. We tried for, it was about 10 months between losing Brody. It was almost a year, and then getting pregnant again. And I was starting to think, I'm losing hope that this is ever going to happen again. But honestly, even after this miscarriage, I have not lost hope, because what I've learned is that even though I hoped that baby would become viable and become our next child here on earth, and that didn't happen, I still have not lost hope that we will be able to expand our family, because it feels so much better to hope. And I learned that even if that hope gets crushed with a loss,